Crawford needs to fight Teofimo first, and then we'll see, right? At the end of the day, like I said before, I'm not asking for that fight. They wanna make that fight because it's a payday, obviously. But I don't want that fight. I think Teofimo deserves more than me.
It's a great fight. People want to see it, then we'll do it. You know, I don't say no to any fight. You know, as long as it's eye catching and eye candy to all of you that are watching right now, that's what really matters. You know. So, however, my main focus is truthfully Crawford, and I know so it is.
Teofimo Lopez has recently expressed interest in stepping into the ring with Terrence Crawford and Jaron "Boots" Ennis. Meanwhile, Canelo Alvarez is making headlines once again, this time due to a fresh controversy involving His Excellency Turki Alalshik. Their fallout has directly impacted Crawford's future plans, as Turki has now officially stated he no longer wants to organize a fight between Canelo and Crawford. According to Turki, Canelo was demanding $15 million for the bout, an amount Turki called unreasonable. "I've moved on from the Canelo fight. I don't want that match anymore," Turki said. "My focus now is on building the US market, especially for legendary fighters like Terrence Crawford." Turki later clarified his position, emphasizing that his goal isn't just to make money but to put on entertaining and meaningful fights. Canelo kept making excuses. His demands were unrealistic. "It became clear to me that he was just wasting our time," Turki wrote. "Now my goal is to deliver big fights that truly matter in the world of boxing, while Canelo continues chasing easy wins." Canelo responded quickly with a fiery press conference, where he even clashed with Edgar Berlanga. He dismissed the Crawford fight, claiming he never took it seriously because of the significant weight difference between them. "I respect Crawford, but he's not a challenge for me, especially after that performance against Spence," said Canelo.
Crawford is a great fighter, and I don't want to talk about that. He's a great fighter, and I have nothing to with.
Canelo voiced his frustration over how the deal was handled, stating that he might have considered the offer under different conditions, but the terms proposed by the Saudi camp were simply unacceptable to him. "I don't like the way they do business," he said, hinting at his ongoing tensions with Turki Alalshik. According to Canelo, the most logical opponent for Crawford now would be Teofimo Lopez, whom he referred to as the top talent at 140 pounds. "Lopez deserves a big fight," Canelo added.
Crawford needs to fight Teofimo first, and then we'll see, right? At the end of the day, like I said before, I'm not asking for that fight. They wanna make that fight because it's a payday, obviously. But I don't want that fight. I think Teofimo deserves more.
Following Canelo's comments, Teofimo Lopez has found himself back in the spotlight. Speculation is once again heating up in the boxing world. Could a Lopez vs Crawford fight actually be in the works? Lopez has repeatedly expressed his desire to face big-name opponents, whether it's Crawford, Gervonta Davis, or Jaron Ennis. Now, it seems he might finally be getting the shot at those elite-level matchups he's been waiting for.
Making boxing great again. That's what I came back to do. Because I know as long as I keep facing the fighters, calling out champions like Terrence Crawford, that people like, this man's crazy. Well, yeah, I'm crazy. I mean, I'm crazy to be great. When was that a problem? You know, and I mentioned that Roberto Duran fought all 4 kings or 3 kings and was a guy that everyone respects highly. Muhammad Ali faced Joe Frazier and so many other great champions that, you know, and got dropped in front of the world, in front of him. Like, who cares? You go and you stand.
After watching the recent bout between Sean Cowan and Moff, Teofimo Lopez didn't hold back in critiquing Terrence Crawford's performance. He hinted that age might finally be catching up with the reigning welterweight champion. "That wasn't the Crawford we're used to seeing," Lopez said, clearly unimpressed. "The fire just wasn't there. I feel like this is my moment. I need to face him now, before time does any more damage." Calling it his golden opportunity, Lopez emphasized the urgency of making the fight happen. "Age is creeping up on him. All I can say now is, let's see what his next move is. But I believe it should be me in that ring." Lopez also addressed the possibility of facing Jaron "Boots" Ennis, the current IBF title holder and one of the most promising rising stars in the division. "I have nothing but respect for Boots. We've known each other a long time. It's a great matchup, and if the fans want it, we'll make it happen. I never turn down a good fight, especially one that excites the crowd. Despite multiple potential matchups on the table, Lopez made it clear that Crawford remains his top priority. "Honestly, my main focus is still Bud. I know he's thinking about it too. We'll see how things play out this year and next, but that fight could be a huge stepping stone for my career." However, not everyone shares Lopez's enthusiasm. Terrence Crawford's longtime trainer and close confidant, Brian "Bo-Mac" McIntyre, dismissed the idea outright after Crawford's latest win. "This isn't even a serious conversation," Bo-Mac said sharply. "Teofimo brings nothing to the table that would interest Bud. And even if he did, he's not the same fighter anymore, he's lost that edge."
Actually adamant in calling out Terrence Crawford, saying that that's his match.
He don't bring to the table neither. Trash, he trash. He used to be good, but now he trash. You heard it first. Y'all put it out there. He trash. You trash. You straight trash, dog.
Boxing analyst Adola Depo recently weighed in on the rising chatter surrounding Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford, and Teofimo Lopez. Reflecting on the once-hyped idea of a super fight between Canelo and Crawford, Depo expressed skepticism about it ever coming to life. He pointed to Crawford's recent performance against Israel Madov, technically sharp but lacking the spark needed to justify a jump to 168 pounds. "It was a solid win," Depo acknowledged, "but not the kind of performance that builds the hype you need for a blockbuster fight at that level." Depo credited Madov for his resilience and grit, but noted that fans were ultimately left wanting more from Crawford, especially considering the high expectations surrounding what could have been a historic showdown. "This fight needed that wow factor to really get people buzzing, and it just didn't deliver that."
Maybe. Number one, I think Crawford needed to look exceptional against Madrimov, so we know that, okay, he's now good at 154, he can maybe take that double jump to 168. Although he looked good, he didn't look exceptional, and that's no slight on Crawford. Madrimov's a very good fighter, but I felt like we needed to see something a bit special for us to get really excited.
The long-anticipated dream matchup between Canelo Alvarez and Terrence Crawford remains tangled in financial complications, according to sources close to the negotiations. His Excellency Turki Alalshik did present an official offer to Canelo, but it was rejected. The reason? Canelo's staggering asking price, over $100 million just to step into the ring. That figure alone has cast serious doubt over whether this super fight will ever materialize. Insiders confirm that this massive demand is the main obstacle holding things back. With both camps unwilling to compromise, the likelihood of fans witnessing this megabout is diminishing by the day.
Maybe Canelo's demands are just too big. I think Turki said that he sent an offer to Canelo. I think Canelo's rejected it, and I think I saw an interview, or at least read something about Canelo wanting, I think, over 100 million. So, yeah.
As this high-stakes saga drags on, one thing is becoming crystal clear: this fight is no longer about legacy. It's about money. And only a record-breaking payday might be enough to make it happen. Legendary boxing commentator Jim Lampley recently weighed in, pointing out the stark contrast between the two fighters. "Crawford is the sport's pound-for-pound number one," he said. "But Canelo? He's number one when it comes to earnings." Lampley emphasized that with Crawford now 36, the window for massive paydays is closing fast. "Fighters dream of being pound-for-pound kings," he said, "but when you see the kind of money being thrown around, priorities change." In Lampley's view, there's only one path for Crawford to reach that elite financial level, and that's through a fight with Canelo. If Crawford wants that kind of money, there's only one guy who can give it to him. Canelo is the number $1 fighter in the sport. Canelo's career choices reflect that financial mindset. His switch from Eddie Hearn's Matchroom Boxing to Al Haymon's Premier Boxing Champions, PBC, was widely regarded as a business-first decision, and a very profitable one. The PBC deal reportedly earned him over $100 million across 3 fights. Currently, Canelo is gearing up for a bout against Edgar Berlanga, a surprising detour after months of buzz surrounding a potential fight with David Benavidez. That fight reportedly fell apart over, once again, Canelo's steep financial demands. On a recent podcast, Canelo addressed the Benavidez situation, acknowledging the threat he poses. "He comes into the ring with 25 pounds more than me on fight night," Canelo explained. "But I'm not scared of that. If the money's right, I'll fight him." What does right money mean for Canelo? He didn't hold back, saying he'd only consider the Benavidez fight for $250 million and wouldn't step in the ring for less than $200 million under any circumstance.
If someone's willing to put up the $250 million,
I mean,
would you negotiate down?
no less than 200.
No less than 200.
Ooh.
All right, let's get 200. Hey, y'all, enough people in the room. Let's get the money.
In response to recent criticism from Terrence Crawford's camp, particularly from his trainer Brian "Bomac" McIntyre, Teofimo Lopez Sr. stepped up to defend his son. Clearly irritated by the remarks, he called them a mockery and accused Crawford's team of trying to avoid a potential showdown. For Bomac to say those things just shows they don't want to face my son, Lopez Sr. fired back. Teofimo is the best fighter at 140 pounds right now. He's smart, agile, and skilled, and he's ready to fight Crawford any day. Lopez Sr. also made it clear that they are serious about making the fight happen, even if it means stepping outside their weight class. We're ready to move up to 147 for this fight. And if Crawford doesn't want it at 147, we'll meet him at a catchweight, 150, even 154. Whatever it takes. While Teofimo's recent performance against Steve Claggett drew mixed reactions, Lopez Sr. stood firm in his defense of his son's resume. People love to hate, but they forget, he beat Josh Taylor easily. No one else could have done that. Teofimo reads his opponents before they even make a move. Still, not everyone shares Lopez Sr's confidence. While the win over Taylor was impressive, some within the boxing community argue that it wasn't dominant enough to justify a fight with an elite, undisputed champion like Crawford.
A lot of things that do not. So, yes, he is one of those guys who fights the difficult fights. He goes after the guys, like you said, Champ, Paulie, that, you know, he's sought after these big fights. He also fights a lot of these tough guys that people don't want to fight. The Sandor Martins of the world, the Jermaine Ortizes of the world. Those are tough outs, and you don't get a lot for beating them. And then when you get raked over the coals when you don't.
Former world champion and respected analyst Chris Algieri has also shared his thoughts on the growing Lopez-Crawford speculation. He commended Teofimo Lopez for actively pursuing high-risk, high-reward fights. Say what you want about his antics, but Teo doesn't duck challenges, Algieri said. He's willing to step in there with bigger, more dangerous opponents, and that says a lot about his mindset. Still, Algieri wasn't shy about pointing out a recurring concern that has kept both fans and analysts cautious. It's tough to take him seriously when he talks about being overlooked but isn't fighting the top names at 140, he said. There are plenty of great matchups available in his own division, yet all he talks about is Crawford.
Matchups, when you're starting to chase dragons and gorillas, like I always say, like the Terrence Crawfords of the world.
Lions and tigers and bears.
Yeah, lions, tigers, bears, dragons. You start chasing these kinds of fights, it turns the fans off because you have a ton of tigers that you can actually fight all around you.
Boxing analyst Chris Algieri doubled down on his skepticism surrounding a potential Terrence Crawford versus Teofimo Lopez matchup, echoing earlier concerns voiced by Crawford's trainer, Brian "Bomac" McIntyre. From Algieri's perspective, the fight simply doesn't add up. Crawford doesn't even bring up Teofimo, because it's not a serious fight, Algieri said. It's not even on the table. Teo should focus on contenders in his own division. There's plenty of competition at 140. Jumping up 3 weight classes to face someone like Terrence. That's not realistic. But not everyone agrees. Former world champion and boxing analyst Pauli Malignaggi offered a counterpoint during the same broadcast, voicing support for Teofimo's ambition. He's calling out the big names, but they don't want to fight him, Malignaggi argued. There's always some excuse, different networks, timing, whatever. Lopez. Malignaggi pointed to Lopez's recent bout as an example of what could happen if the young fighter stops chasing elite-level opponents. If he gives up on chasing greatness, he'll get stuck fighting guys like Steve Claggett. Respectable fighters, sure, but they won't elevate him or excite the fans. Veteran analyst and former champion Timothy Bradley echoed that sentiment. There's nothing wrong with setting your sights high, Bradley said. In boxing, if you want to make a name for yourself, you've got to chase greatness. And that's exactly what Teofimo is doing.
Man, he's the type of fighter that fights to the level of his competition. So if he fights a guy like Crawford, he's going to show up and he's going.
Teofimo Lopez recently pushed back against growing criticism that he's calling out Terrence Crawford purely for attention and a hefty payday. According to Lopez, that perspective misses the larger picture. At the end of the day, every fighter wants to build a name and leave behind a legacy, he said. I want to fight the best guy who also gives me the biggest payday. That's not chasing attention, it's chasing greatness. Still, not everyone is buying it. Renowned trainer Greg Hackett was quick to dismiss Lopez's explanation, suggesting it was more promotional than purposeful. But doesn't need Teofimo, he's got nothing left to prove, Hackett said. Teofimo, on the other hand, has a whole lineup of legitimate opponents in his own division. He should handle that business before dreaming about Crawford. Hackett didn't mince words when predicting how a potential matchup would go. You come in small, and Bud's knocking you out, he said bluntly. Crawford has too much skill, too much experience, and too much size. It's not even close. According to Hackett, Lopez's public campaign is,
I feel like Teo did that because Bud got a buzz right now, and it would seem crazy, it would seem out of this world if Teo took a fight like that, and nobody saw it coming, so let me use his name. It's just like other fighters use other fighters' names.
Former world champion Antonio Tarver also weighed in on the growing Lopez-Crawford debate. Unlike trainer Greg Hackett, he didn't view it as a truly competitive matchup. Crawford is just better, period, Tarver stated. Teofimo has some great tools, sure, but they don't match up with what Bud brings to the ring. Tarver pointed to the clear gap in size, ring IQ, and elite-level experience. While he acknowledged Lopez's talent, he was firm in his assessment that the young star still has a way to go before being ready for someone like Crawford. Bud is a different beast, Tarver said. Teofimo's got skills, no doubt, but he's not ready for that kind of fight. Not now.
Man, want to talk about magic, man. I got Crawford because I see him being a bigger Teofimo. Yeah. He's a bigger Teofimo that can do everything. Ooh. You feel me? Ooh. Yeah, bigger Teo. Teo got all the intangibles, power, boxing, everything. Yeah. But I think Crawford has that too, but he's bigger.
Despite the ongoing criticism from some corners of the boxing world, Teofimo Lopez remains undeterred in his quest for elite competition. His latest target? Jaron "Boots" Ennis, one of the most feared names in the welterweight division, boasting an undefeated 32-0 record with 29 knockouts. Their connection isn't new. A resurfaced clip of the two sparring years ago has reignited buzz, adding fuel to speculation about what a real fight between them might look like today. Fans have taken notice, and momentum is building. It's a fight the real fans want, Lopez said. And it's one that could show who's really running things at welterweight. With both fighters known for their speed, explosiveness, and technical prowess, Lopez vs Ennis showdown wouldn't just bring fireworks, it could reshape the welterweight landscape and define its future.
Yeah, because Bud got a buzz right now, and it would seem crazy, it would seem out of this world if Teo took a fight like that, and nobody saw it coming, so let me use his name. It's just like other fighters use other fighters' names.
Veteran boxing analyst Dan Rafael offered a different angle on the evolving welterweight storyline, one that shifts the spotlight away from Teofimo Lopez. For Rafael, the most logical, and potentially explosive, matchup isn't Lopez versus Ennis or even Crawford versus Canelo. It's Crawford versus Jaron "Boots" Ennis. Boots is a natural welterweight, Rafael explained. If the money's right and he moves up, both he and Crawford would absolutely go for it. That's the real fight. That's the one that makes sense. Rafael also shed light on the collapse of the much-hyped Crawford vs Canelo negotiations. According to him, the deal fell apart largely because Canelo refused to compromise on financial terms. Canelo didn't kiss the ring, Rafael said, hinting that His Excellency Turki Alalshik pulled the plug after several frustrating attempts to reach an agreement with the Mexican superstar. He wanted things his way, and Turki wasn't having it. Despite that MegaFight now appearing dead in the water, Rafael believes Turki is still focused on delivering a marquee bout for Terrence Crawford, possibly involving Jaron Ennis or maybe even Teofimo Lopez. So, what do you think? Rafael concluded. Was Turki right to walk away from Canelo versus Crawford? And should Teofimo really be gunning for Bud?